Welcome, everyone. Joe here with ECRM and RangeMe, and I have with me once again Dan Mack, the founder of Mack Elevation Forum and author of a couple of books. And today we're going to talk about the 5 dangerous blind spots of today's customer meeting. So, Dan, thank you for joining us again. And to get right into it, you shared with me in the past that sales organizations must think different and deeper about how they show up with customers, right? Brands showing up with buyers. Tell me why this change is necessary today.
Yep. Joe, I think bottom line is, as you know, we're now in an attention economy.
Mhm.
And attention span now is 8 seconds. It used to be 12 seconds 15 years ago. So I'm seeing that consistently when you're not respecting the fact that attention span is different.
Mhm.
You're just disconnecting with people right out of the gate.
Mhm.
So I think we got to be briefer, we got to be more relevant, we got to be more human.
Mhm.
And I think the point is we got to actually manage our energy better and manage the energy of the people we're working with. And I think the reason why that's so important is when you think about any sales experience, 50% of that experience is the human beings in the room creating the actual experience. It's not the brands.
Mhm.
So we got to be better creating those experiences. And somebody recently in one of the groups I was leading made a great point. They said, we spend all of our time worrying about, we have to get more face time.
Mhm.
And they said, we're asking a different question now. The question is not face time, but how do we more humanize the relationship?
Mhm.
And I
Yep.
think
Yep.
that's the world we're in right now. Yeah.
Yeah. We do business with people, not with companies.
Yes.
We do business
Yes.
with people. So,
Yes.
so in the light of that, what are the new skills and communication approaches that must be embraced, practiced, and taken seriously
Yep.
by sales organizations?
Yep. Well, I think it goes back to something we talked about in one of the other sessions we did. 90% of people think they're self-aware.
Mhm.
It's actually 10. So you got to go in knowing you're not seeing yourself clearly and you're not assessing yourself clearly, and you need somebody else helping you see yourself.
Mhm.
We overestimate ourselves, we underestimate competitors, we overestimate relationships. So that's the foundation. And I think there are 5 big blind spots. One is self-awareness.
Mhm.
So we're not as self-aware as we think we are. Again, the best adapt their style to the person they're working with. They
Mhm.
meet them where they're at. They're deep listeners. They're extreme listeners. Um, and they're always asking for real-time feedback throughout the session and after the session. Is there
Mhm.
anything else we should be talking about? How did that meeting go? How can I modify it next time? What else is on your mind? What's changed? They're recalibrating throughout the conversation. And you can only do that if you're really, really self-aware, being able to check in.
Yeah, and
I
when you
think,
think about it, all of the blind spots, I mean, that's the root. It's the foundation of discovering what your blind spots are, is being self-aware.
you nailed it. You nailed it, Joe. I think the second big blind spot is not enough courage, not enough
Mhm.
candor. And again, 3 and 4 people, salespeople, don't always tell the truth to the customer because they fear a blowback.
Mhm.
So you got to be more courageous. And I think the top companies are more fierce, more open, and they actually are willing to break a relationship because they realize if I break a relationship, I can always rebuild a relationship.
Yep.
What are you going to say?
Yeah, I agree 100%. In fact, one of the things that I always tell brands before they go into buyer meetings is to be transparent about what your capabilities are and what your capabilities are not. Don't
Yes.
let your eyes get too big for your stomach. If you can't do something, let them know, because that will save the relationship down the road. And then when you can do it, then you can revisit.
Agree with you. Totally agree with you. Third blind spot. Too much presentation, not enough facilitation.
Mhm.
So what do I mean? I think as a reminder, um, I think the research now says 1 of every 2 minutes we're not present.
Mhm.
So if we do this talk for 10 minutes, most people, 5 of the minutes are not even present, even if
Mhm.
they're the ones part of the session. So we miss the nuances of the conversation. We miss the body language. We miss what's not being said, which is why I think the art of the question when you're a facilitator is so important.
Mhm.
And contrary to what a lot of people say, there are bad questions. right? Bad question, wrong timing, wrong approach. So asking the right questions is important, and really trying to uncover unstated hidden needs. What can I fix? What's broken that I can fix? And thinking on that level. And I think when you think about being present in actually facilitating, facilitators don't bury you with slides. They use whatever's stimulating in the moment to kind of bring up more in the conversation.
Yep.
That's kind of the art of facilitation. Fourth blind spot is actually the idea of, are you experiential enough? Again, 50% of brand loyalty is again sales experience. So are you creating an atmosphere that's open, creative? Is it curious? Are you pausing? Are you reading what's happening in the moment? Are you pivoting based on new information? And I think actually the top companies are not afraid of difficult conversations. In fact, they invite them because that's where you uncover new opportunities. That's where magical things happen, when there's a little bit of conflict in the room. And that's the magic, being able to let the room breathe. There's magic in that. And it's like, you really have to know, you have to embrace that discomfort, because knowing that's where the magic is. The fifth blind spot, and again, man, it's more important than ever, is people are too complex with everything. Meetings, slides, discussions, talking points. It's overwhelming. So the blind spot is not being simple enough. And I love a quote that Einstein raised, which was, simplicity is genius. And I will never profess to understand that, that brain, but I think what he means a little bit is, from our perspective, anyone can compile a lot of facts and slides in a presentation. That's actually pretty easy, even if they're great facts. It's genius to simplify, to synthesize, to get to the essence of a story, a sticky story.
Yep.
And extreme simplicity, which again gives it more room to breathe, to interact, to engage with, to throw the ball back and forth in a conversation. That simplicity is so hard to get to. So those are the big five.
And it's also easier to remember, right?
Yes.
If like when we have at an ECRM session, you have a buyer's meeting with 60 people in 2 or 3 days. Well, you want to keep your message simple and memorable. So
Yes.
if you too convoluted a presentation with all these slides, no one's going to remember that.
Yep.
Some of the best ones, they don't use slides, or maybe a handful, 2 or 3, and that's it. But it's them, the product, and the conversation.
Great comment.
So what are the benefits to organizations that embrace these new skills with their customers?
Yep. I actually think, Joe, this is not an opportunity anymore. I think this is a necessity. I think it's the only way you hold on to your job in the future, to be quite honest. Yeah. I really do. 5 to 10% of organizations or brands that approach retailers, in the retailer's mind, look to them as being either thought leader or radically just, distinct and different. It's 5 to 10%. And 80% of the slides or the content presented in a meeting, most retailers will say, I already know.
Yeah.
So when you do that, you're not being brief, you're not being relevant, you're not being human. You're actually being self-centered, you're overwhelming people. So when you're wasting time, you're wasting energy. And again, 1 in 10 companies get to what's referred to as like a strategic collaborator. That's a really hard role to get to.
Yeah.
You only, and that's sacred ground to get there. So to get there, you have to be self-aware, courageous, present, experiential, simple. Those 5 blind spots. You got to turn them around, and you got to get good at them. That's how you create value. So I think the point is, if you're not stepping into that and practicing those behaviors, you will not be as relevant, and you will not show up well, and you will not get meetings. Because, the point is, we cannot burn energy and time.